Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Frenzy podcast. I'm Phil Penarski, joined as always by our News 8 Sports correspondent, Andy McDonald. And we've got another surprise guest here on our show today. It is the host of NB8, AJ Evans, filling in for Dean Holzwarth today. AJ, thank you so much for stopping by and filling in for us. And Andy, it's great to have you back here on the show with us because we've got a lot to talk about today, guys.
We sure do. I mean, it's the sports definitely haven't been slowing down. Just because the tournament stops doesn't mean that it's done. So
yeah, absolutely.
Got plenty more to get to.
A ton to talk about, and that's kind of why don't we just go ahead and just jump straight into the conversation today, because the big story has to be the fact that the Michigan Wolverines won the national championship in men's basketball over the UConn Huskies last night on Monday. The pressure, obviously, not too much. This is a team that really had championship aspirations all season long and really felt it, especially early on in the season when they were kind of beating a lot of other teams by 30, 40 points and everything like that. Really, I don't know. I guess for me personally, I was always kind of like, yeah, this team is good enough to win the national championship, but can they really keep up this hot start, this great season that they've had? Can they really do it? And they were able to do it. I mean, just instant reactions, guys, from the not only the season, not only the national championship, but really everything in between.
I mean, I would say what you said about earlier in the season. I think when they played against Gonzaga and they won by 40, that was kind of like the eye opener for people in that tournament when Michigan played that well. All the way through, they could do this, but again, like you said, I think the NCAA tournament's harder than any other sport to reach the national championship, just because it's all one game sample size until you get there. And like you can run into one team that gets hot and then your whole season's over. Right. It's much different like a 7-game series in the NBA. If a team gets hot for 2 games, the better team still might win in 6, So it's just a lot different of a system. And the fact that Michigan was able to roll the way they were until last night, and the fact that UConn kind of played their game against them, I mean, put them in the exact situation that they wanted to, right? You keep Michigan in the 60s. You don't let them get out and run. I mean, UConn got back better than anybody they played against this year, in my opinion, with defending them against the fast break and anything in transition. They did a great job slowing Michigan down. I mean, they only shot, I think it was 38% for the game. That's a phenomenal job, but the problem is that Michigan's defense is so good and they don't let you score in the paint, and they kept trying to go into Reed, and he just didn't have the same success that he was having against other teams in this tournament. I mean, he ended up with a double-double, but a lot of that was at the free throw line. Michigan just clearly, in my mind, was the best team in the country this year, and I think what they did to Arizona the game before that kind of proved it. More nights than not, you're going to get that from Michigan. They just kind of hit you in punches, and it comes so fast that all of a sudden you're down by this many points. If you don't play the way that UConn played out of the gate, it's hard to match. And Michigan is all this stuff about, the mercenaries and everything else with that. I don't buy into any of that at all. You got Florida last year who won it with 4 transfers, and nobody talks about that. So to me, it's like, it's hard to build a team no matter who you get. A lot of these guys weren't even starters on their teams. Right. Elliot Cadeau got ran out of town where he was playing at. He ended up being the most valuable player. I think it's awesome for him. To me, it's like, it's a different way of doing it, but that's just where the sport's at now. And Michigan still to get the right pieces and put it together. And I think Dusty May and his crew deserves a lot of credit for that.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree. I think it's definitely different and unconventional, but hey, there are many avenues to winning in college basketball now. Some teams are trying to buy their way to success a little bit. Some teams are using the transfer portal. And then there are some teams like UConn that are still trying to do it the traditional way. So I thought the Huskies did an excellent job. Thought they really slowed the game down. I thought they did a really nice job of trapping the post at points throughout the game. But ultimately, Michigan just had too many weapons. The game before, I think, was very telling. Arizona was incredibly bad. They were just not ready. That's the best way to put it. They weren't ready. And that's not necessarily an indictment against Michigan, but Arizona did not have it from tip off until the end. They didn't have it the whole night. So UConn did an excellent job, but at the end of the day, Michigan just had too many weapons.
Right.
I think the other thing for me that I take away from last night is that I'm going to say young coaches here. I'm going to say not over 50. I think between those two, Danny Hurley and Dusty May, that's 2 of the best coaches you're going to be watching for a while in the sport. Like, as long as they don't go to the NBA and move on. I think Hurley did a great job. I think you could almost argue that he outcoached May in a loss. Michigan I just felt like Michigan knew that there was no way they were going to lose that game, and they found a way to win. If you would have told me they made 2 3-pointers and they won, I would have told you that you were crazy. So I think Danny Hurley still deserves a big kudos for what he did throughout this entire tournament last night too.
The whole team, really, honestly.
I think you can make the argument too, if UConn is if they're even average, they have an average shooting night, they win that game.
100%,
They did not knock down enough shots at all. And I think that proved to be the difference maker.
Yeah, a couple of those 3-pointers they put. I mean, Caravan just didn't have the night that he wanted to have. Mullins didn't have the night that he wanted to have, and for Reed, it's just an unfair matchup. Like, he's the only guy going against those 3 trees inside. I mean, Yaxel wasn't himself last night, but Mara and Mraz are the main 2 that when you try to get in, play that kind of offense, it's just so hard to score on them. I mean, they've proved it time and time again all year. I think Mara averages like 3.5 blocks a game, some insane number like that. He had a lot of
hard not to when you're 7'3" in college basketball, right?
It's they just. Last night was overly impressive, and they left no doubt to me. Even when you play your worst game, they're still right there to win. And Wisconsin lost, the Duke lost. Both those, Michigan played a similar game where they did not shoot the ball well. They just had an off shooting night. Both those games they were still in. They didn't lose by a lot. So, it's hard to argue to me that they were just the best team this year.
Right.
It was a little frustrating at times watching that game though, because I thought the referees did a.
Oh yeah.
I thought they really slowed the game down, and I thought it was impossible for UConn to get an offensive rhythm in the second half with the way the fouls were being called. It's impossible to do anything.
Calling a flagrant on that hook and hold in the
crazy.
In the first that was a big
Not a
turning point
foul.
in the game. It's crazy that's even like considered a flagrant foul today.
Yep.
If you're a Michigan fan and you argue that, I think that's absolutely crazy. It's just that that flipped the game on its head. Now, where I'm going to give Michigan credit is they made 20 free throws in a row. A lot of teams would not make that many free throws in a row, and that takes a lot of veterans or what. I mean, Michigan has a lot of transfers, but the fact that they were able to lock in and make that many free throws from plenty of the time this year, a lot of those guys have went 1 for 2 at the line or haven't had that kind of success. It was impressive. They just didn't miss them last night. I think that's something that like nobody's talking about really.
Yeah.
But
Well, and again, the first half totally different. I think the second half, the refs kind of got a little bit better about calling everything, but I do agree with AJ. I felt like it was the ref show for the first half there, and but the game itself, I mean, for as low scoring as it was, and for how many kind of down moments I think there was, I still think that's probably one of my favorite memories from this season for the Michigan Wolverines, just because again they were kind of they fell into what UConn wanted to do as far as kind of getting them to play at a smaller pace, and just were still able to beat it. I mean, is there a favorite moment or memory from this season for you guys as far as the way that this whole season went with winning a national championship?
Yeah, it would have to be probably the national championship.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything else. I mean, the Gonzaga game I thought was their introduction to the rest of the country that they were serious, but no, this game was huge. UConn, this win was also so impressive to me too, because UConn is, I think, the best offensive team in the country with how they run their sets. They run sets on top of sets on top of sets. Their actions are unprecedented, and they can't be replicated in college basketball. It's insane. I don't know if you guys saw, there were sequences though where they were running 3 guys off of pin downs from the same side. You don't see that. You don't see that in college basketball anywhere else. So the fact that Michigan was able to defend those and to keep them from knocking down shots and to keep them from getting any kind of offensive rhythm, seriously, it was impressive.
for sure. I think if there was anything besides some of their wins in the NCAA tournament, it probably would have been the fact that they did beat Michigan State twice, just because I think for me, like going back, well, I mean, not for that reason, as you guys might think, but for me, it's like I went back to last year. I said this time and time again throughout the year. I think the difference for me last year was, Izzo had his guys ready for those games, and like they knew what it meant to play in a rivalry game, and I felt like Dusty May didn't treat it as that way for his team. I feel like this year he kind of, he got involved in the rivalry, the whole antic with the, I'm not going to duck from him thing and stuff at Michigan State. I feel like you have to beat the best to be the best. And I feel like Michigan State was still one of the best teams in the Big Ten this year. I think they were still one of the best teams in the country, and they had their set sight on going to the same exact spot that Michigan was in. So the fact that they were able to beat their in-state rival and a team that had a clear goal as Izzo gets later in his career and he wants to get for as far as he wants to get, I think that those wins meant a lot to Michigan. I feel like even the game at the end of the year that really technically had no meaning, just be able to have those bragging rights and kind of ride that high going into the rest of the season for sure. Because I mean, the Big Ten tournament when they lost to Purdue, I think we kind of talked about it then. Yeah. Clearly didn't. I mean, they were looking forward to this tournament. I mean, there's really no question about that. But yeah, that would be the other highlight for me. Otherwise, it would probably, I don't know. I mean, really just dominating Arizona that way. Because Arizona, I think for most people, was the other best team in the country. Like that was like if anybody was going to beat them, it was that. And Michigan got by them, and you just kind of knew at that point. So
right. And how lucky have we been, covering sports in Michigan over these last couple of years? I mean, we had Western Michigan winning the National Hockey Championship last year. We've seen Michigan win a national championship in football. Now in basketball, we had the Whitecaps win the Midwest League last year. We've had these teams make playoff runs and get back to the playoffs and everything like that. So I want want to ask you guys now, make your call. Which Michigan sports team do you think is next to win a title? Is there one team that you think has the best chance to win a title next, whether it's, here in Western Michigan, maybe on the other side of the state, anywhere else?
You say are we including the Griffins in that?
We're including any team.
I would go with the Griffins right now, I think, for sure. I mean, they just broke over 100 points, won their conference for the first time. They're going to get a lot of guys back because of what we're going to talk about later. So, yeah, I think with all the talent they have down there, I would take the Griffins right now until I'm proven wrong on that in either a couple of weeks or maybe a month or so. Who knows? But, yeah.
I'll say the Tigers.
Okay.
I'll say the Tigers.
Yeah, if it was the Detroit teams, I think I'd agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But
for opening up to the rest of the state, Griffins probably have a little bit of a shot right now, a little bit of a better shot right now.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now and talk about those Detroit Tigers now as, again, baseball season is now underway. Andy, you were at opening day at Comerica Park last week. Incredible atmosphere, right? I mean, just one of the best in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it was their biggest sellout since 2016-17. Yeah. So it was definitely full. It was a lot of fun to be at. One of the better pitching performances you're going to see from Fromber to start the year. Obviously, they haven't had that kind of consistency in a lot of the other games, but yeah, that was definitely a good day for them. It's always one of those things that people say should be a national holiday, and honestly, it seems like it should be because enough people seem to take the day off anyway to go down there and go to that game because it's never as empty. I can tell you that much. So, I've been able to cover the last 5 opening days, and I've been lucky enough to see a win in every single one. And the Tigers are actually 17-2 in their last 19 opening days. Yeah. So random stat, but it is true. They don't seem to lose the opening day game at home. Mm-hmm. So.
We talked about it last week. There is no podcaster's jinx as far as going to opening day anymore, which is
Dean
good
was
to
really
know.
trying to get me on that.
Yeah,
That was I didn't think that was very fair. I was like, I'm not calling the game live right now. So
just showing up doing my job.
He's swimming around a beach right now. He can worry about that.
Yeah, exactly, right. One other thing I want to touch on, with this early start to the MLB season, obviously a long season, but AVS has been getting a lot of talk about. I want to get your guys' opinion on it so far because personally, I love it. I mean, the fact that this wasn't a part of Major League Baseball until this year is crazy to me because just from the sheer moments that we've had already of batters, pitchers, umpires all kind of calling their shots on with this ABS system, I mean, it's been a lot of fun at least to watch. I feel like it's making the games a lot more enjoyable too.
Yeah, the games are certainly more entertaining, but I think it's just been better for the sport overall. Yeah. Guys are able to call it how they see it now. So, I think it's been a huge benefit. I was a little weary. I was kind of on the fence of whether it would work or not or how I felt about it, but seeing it in real time and seeing how the guys utilize it, it's been cool to see, and I like it. Yeah.
I'm in the same yard as I kind of thought that, I didn't know if I'd like it taking away the the aspect of just the human calls and the mistakes and that's kind of just a part of baseball, it felt like. But so far it's been good because even the batters and catchers that have been challenging it, they've been getting burned too more. I think at first it was the umpires taking a lot of the heat because they were just getting, it seemed like every time they were wrong, but now I've been seeing it go both ways. I think the part that I like about it the most after being at the game the other day, they just put it up on the big board.
Yeah,
it's right there. Everybody in the stadium can see it. And obviously, I think it was I can't remember what game it was, maybe the Angels or something like that. I can't remember whatever the first one that kind of went viral where
the Reds.
Yeah, and Henio Suarez. Yeah, Reds. I knew it was a red team. They Suarez challenged 2-3 calls in a row, and that umpire was wrong every single time. The crowd got into it. Man. That's the kind of thing I'm actually going to Detroit with my friends this weekend for a couple of games. So going on the fun side of it this time, and I'm excited to be there for that, and I'm hoping that something like that happens because the Tigers have seemed in the last couple of games they've been challenging more of the call. I think Dingler's got to have a really good percentage right now from what I've been watching because every single time he taps his helmet, it seems like it's the right call. So I overall like it. That's for sure. I think it's making the game better. And I'll admit I was wrong about that because I was definitely more on the fence of I think this is going to be dumb. But so far, I think it's been great. And I like it. There's only 2 challenges too. You get them wrong, you kind of burned them. So that way, because otherwise it'd be literally every pitch.
That's what I was going to say, and that's what I was kind of worried about when they first introduced it. Is I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a problem with every pitch I see that I don't agree with, and it's just going to make the games longer. Kind of defeats the purpose of having that pitch clock that they instituted a couple of seasons ago, anyway. So
the other thing that I was weary about too is I feel like sometimes when a slider crosses or a curveball or something like that, sometimes it looks like a strike to the eye, but then it's outside. Yes. That's still the one thing that I feel a little weird about sometimes. I don't know, just playing baseball for long enough in my life, sometimes you wonder if that box is perfectly right too. But overall, it seems like it's doing the job and nobody's complaining about it.
Yeah.
So
It will be interesting to see at the end of the season though, which who's got the best percentage, who called for the most challenges and everything like that. That's what I'm most
That's
excited
gonna be a pride thing for catchers. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely. For sure. All right. Well, let's talk about again, it's gonna be a long season before we really see the full first season of ABS and, seeing what those stats kind of look like. But let's talk about what the Tigers have been able to do so far through their first 10. They currently sit at 4-6, but again, super long season ahead of them. What have been the highs and lows for you guys so far this season, just watching through these first 10?
Well, I can tell you that they're lucky the national championship game was on last night, because I watched a little bit of that game, and that fly ball that Matt Vierling dropped in left field was pretty concerning. And then Torkelson last night on a pass ball. Now, granted, target field is a really short backstop, so the ball bounced right back to the catcher, and he kind of got caught in the middle on second when I think it was late in the game. They were trying to come back. They're down by 2. Just a couple of really bad mistakes last night by guys that it kind of reminded me like the 2022 team, when I felt like they were constantly making errors. The Tigers right now, unless they had another error late in that game last night, they have 9 errors right now in the season, which is tied for second. So the defense is definitely a little bit of a concern, and sometimes that makes me wonder if I don't have a huge problem with AJ Hinch moving a lot of people around the field. It seemed to work from time to time, and it's really cold right now. You don't want to take things like too much early in the season, because it never seems to really be like the truth by the end of it. But I think right now it's one of those things, like a small sample size, but every game that they kind of lose and blow in this way, where they are giving up a lot of runs, it's definitely making my meter go up a little bit more on what I'm thinking about. I'm not going to take too much away from it yet, but you'd like to see some more consistency where they start to string together some wins right here, because the whole point of them getting the pitching, which obviously Verlander 15-day DL right now, the whole point of this was supposed to be that, losing streaks can't happen. They've already had a mini losing streak this year. So I think they need to find a way to get on the winning end of it. And that's hopefully that starts tonight in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little concerning, the slow start. I think the defense has not held up as we would have expected, but I think the few bright spots have been probably Colt Keith and Kevin McGonigal.
Yeah.
I think, we didn't know what to expect coming in with McGonigal. He's a rookie, but he was by far and away the best hitter in minor league baseball last year, and he has been terrific. He's so composed at the plate, and he's playing well beyond his years. But at the same time, I feel like this youthfulness to his game that has just been really cool to see. And Colt Keith has been known for his slow starts, but he's been terrific so far this year. He's batting .387, and he just looks a lot more comfortable at the plate. Seems like he's really grown into his own as a hitter. So, and I also think Gleyber Torres has done a nice job of drawing walks and just working the counts in the batter's box. So, yeah, those 3 guys have stood out the most to me. I think Torque definitely needs to get going, and Kerry Carpenter also too needs to pick it up. But the defense has been a little concerning. Pitching has been a little bit too, but I'm not too worried about that. I think that'll come together on its own. So, so far, not the start we expected, but I still like the long-term outlook.
Yeah, Riley Green, Torkelson, no home runs through 10 games. That's not one of those things that lingers to 15, 20 games. Yeah. I'm going to start to have real concerns, especially because the strikeout numbers haven't been as bad for Riley. For Torkelson, it's just not been great so far at all. Those are the kind of things where last night, he ended up drawing a walk, and he drew a couple walks in Sunday Night Baseball, but when they have 2 outs and they need a hit, he still hasn't come up with it. And it's how many times are we going to put him in the 5-hole before we realize this isn't going to work anymore, So it's just, it's a lot of the same problems, but I love what you said about Cole Keith. I mean, he looks much better than he did in any of his seasons so far. I think he finally looks relaxed in the box. I think he started to see that actually a little bit at the end of last year, and unfortunately he got hurt right for the playoffs, and that was kind of a big deal. But yeah, him and McGonigal have definitely been the 2 high points, but still want to see more out of this offense so far. I mean, Carpenter and Dingler are the only. Matt Vierling had a garbage time home run the other day, but really the only 2 that have shown any power so far. So hopefully they're able to figure that out.
Right.
But,
well, one thing I've learned in doing this show for over a year now is to not pay too close attention or not worry too much about the start to a baseball season, because again, 162 games, we're only 10 games through. So again, a lot of baseball still to be played. Hoping for the best though with the Tigers. Let's move on though to the other team, because they have their home opener today, that being the West Michigan Whitecaps. News 8 is going to be all over that first game and really first series at LMCU Ballpark. It's going to be an awesome time. The Whitecaps though are already underway on their season in the quest for another Midwest League championship. They took the first series against Lake County last week, winning 2 of the 3 games. Really, though, kind of just a broad question regarding this Whitecap season. Obviously, winning the Midwest League championship last year was a huge deal. Who's got bigger shoes to fill, though? Is it some of the guys that have to replace a lot of the top guys that the Whitecaps had all season long, or is it Rene Rivera, who replaces Tony Capicelli as the new manager for the team? So who do you think maybe has a little bit more pressure, I guess, to perform this year?
Yeah, I think overall, when you win a championship like that, you no matter what, it's good at that level. But it's kind of hard to judge, because the most important thing is development. So I'd say Rivera's probably the one that has the most pressure on him. Like, can he keep these guys moving up like they're supposed to? At the end of the day, it's kind of what the Tigers care about more than anything else, is that their prospects get to move up. I think there are definitely some big shoes to fill, but like we kind of talked about all last year, a lot of those guys got moved up throughout the season, and they found a way to keep winning even when they lost a lot of those guys. So, I think Rivera has a lot of pressure on him to kind of bring the same kind of vibe back that Capiccelli has. That can be the hardest thing to do, is like, keep a team together at that level when you lose a lot of, Dan Watson's a good example from the Griffins just a couple weeks ago when we had I went to his press conference, and he talked about how it's not like a bad thing. These guys didn't do it on purpose, but the Griffins have kind of had a revolving door lately with players going up and down. And he said that we need to get our mojo back. That's like the biggest problem right now. Like, we don't have the same chemistry that we kind of had early in the season, because a lot of these guys are new, and I need to do a better job of that. I feel that's the kind of thing that Rivera needs to do right now. And Dan Watson, to his credit, has done that down there. The Griffins have been playing a lot better again. I think that'll probably be the biggest challenge for them. And then I also wish they'd make it warmer for me tonight to go cover opening night. That's for sure, because it's going to be freezing once that sun goes down. But that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, I would say more. The pressure is definitely probably on Rivera, just given the fact you got to keep talent pouring through the pipeline. So yeah, at the end of the day, winning and developing these guys is most important. So I would say it'll probably be on him to just cultivate a similar vibe, similar to what Andy said, and to just keep the culture of winning, because with winning come the expectations and guys playing up to the standards. So he'll have big shoes to fill, but I'm optimistic he will.
Yeah. Well, if you want to stay warm during the game, Andy, highly encourage you to go try that fried pickle quesadilla at the concourse right now. It's one of their new fan foods.
Yeah, you tried a bunch of the food, right,
Yeah,
Phil?
it's great, man. I mean, if you like fried pickles, that's something right up my alley. So.
Oh, yeah, I love fried pickles.
Yeah, so definitely encourage everybody to go.
It really is whatever they put in the press box menu. That's what I get. I think usually, traditionally, on their opening day, they just do like a hot dog brat burger thing. So
not a bad thing.
I'm still looking forward to that tonight. Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, great. Well, again, it's LMCU ballpark, always a fun time, no matter what, even if it is a little bit cold. But hoping for that it gets a little bit warmer out there for you, Andy.
Yeah,
let's talk about a team though that maybe really isn't focusing so much on winning a championship this year, and that being the Detroit Red Wings. We've been talking about them a lot over the last couple of weeks, just hoping that maybe they can break this 9-year drought and finally get into the playoffs. It looked like it for a minute there that they might, and then of course March happened yet again, and they're just fighting for that playoff berth. Like I said, it felt like maybe they were making the steps in the right direction on Sunday before that heartbreaking loss to the Minnesota Wild. Again, just 5 games left in the regular season. They're trailing the Senators and the Islanders for that final wild card spot. And I think they're down 1 point and 2 points to both of those teams respectively. Guys, is it time to throw in the towels as fans and just kind of assume that this is going to go on 10 years now of a playoff drought with the Red Wings?
Yeah, I would definitely go on that sentiment that it's going to be 10 years without making the playoffs, because right now, why would you believe anymore? Yeah. I think at this point, they get lucky last week with the win during the week where they really, in my mind, they played even with them and played hard, but that game they got outshot 34-19. And then you come back and play against the Rangers this weekend, who have been one of the worst teams in hockey all season. Now, they've been playing a lot better as of late, sure. And they're going to give you a fight because they want to ruin the Red Wings' chances at that point. And that kind of makes sense to me. But to come out and get shut out sure, they scored a goal late, but it didn't really matter. To get shut out almost in that game and then come out the next day, play a pretty good first period where even though they only got 3 shots on goal against the Wild, they did come out and play good. The second period is just the same thing you see every now and again with them, where they just go away and they just like let what the other team do whatever they want to them. That's a team with way too much talent, with Matt Boldy and Kaprizov and stuff like that. And they made them pay. Even Tarasenko, who's an ex-Red Wing, that hurt a little bit too, to have him score a pretty good goal in that game. Then they come back and tie it. And Patrick Kane, he was quoted today, took the dumbest penalty of maybe his career. He said like made him feel worse than any other point in his career. He felt like, which is coming. I mean, from him, that's a lot. Yeah. So it's just. It feels like, and they get that point, they're tied right now with the Rangers, and they're only 1 back. They have a game in hand against Ottawa. They have to pass Ottawa at this point because Ottawa does have the tiebreaker to make it. It's not over, but it feels like it's over. Yeah. And we can get into it eventually when it gets to that point, when we have more time to talk about it. We can probably, if it was me, I could designate 30 minutes to it. But I think with the move that's going to happen this offseason is going to have to be drastic. No matter what it is, whether it's Steve, it can't just be McClellan. We've already fired, 3-4 coaches in this organization with that. It's got to be something at the top that changes, or they get rid of a lot of these players and do a complete revamp, because right now they're just not getting it done. Every year is the same exact story. So 10 years is a long time. Nobody else in America gets that much time to be a GM.
Right.
And he's only been the GM for 8 years, whatever. That still,
you round up, that's 10 basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if they give him another chance, he's got to make drastic changes, and he's got to really go for it. He's got to step out of his comfort zone of hanging on to every draft pick and every player, and we'll see if they're able to do that. But I have zero confidence they're going to make the playoffs at this point. 2 weeks ago, I told you on this show that I thought they were going to still. Yeah. They've just completely looked dead right now, and like they don't want to be there.
Yeah, I was going to say the energy level, or like the willingness to go out on the ice, I feel like is just gone.
There's no secret that the tension in that locker room is high. Like there's like they just, like, it's not that some of them don't like each other. I don't think it's just, I don't know. There's just a lot. There's something there that isn't right, and they're not vibing well together. I mean, everybody just seems dead when they talk to the media. Yeah. It's because it's happening again, So
yeah, AJ, are you at all a little bit more positive, or are you kind of in the same boat as us?
I think it's just pretty surreal, man. Like, this is crazy to see, especially when you look at where all of the other Detroit teams are at this point. Like the trajectory it's been wild. But yeah, no, Andy couldn't have said it, but he couldn't have said it any better.
I don't know if you guys watched the game on Saturday, but they did a graphic on the ESPN broadcast where it was like all 4 of the teams, and they had like the Lions and Goff coming in his car out of the garage, and like he's made the playoffs for the first time and whatever. And then they did it with the Tigers, and they did it with the Pistons, and then it was a Dylan Larkin's car breaking down, smoking, and they had a 9-year playoff drought on it, and that was like, wow. If that couldn't like slap you anymore in the face, then I don't know what could have been worse. So it was a pretty brutal graphic, and everybody's kind of been talking about it, but honestly, it's deserved at this point.
Right. So. That might be the quote of the year. It doesn't feel like it's over, but it's over.
It's over. It just is what it is, man. 25 years in a row, right? They made it, and I think everybody was so upset the last like 4 years when they kind of were just making the playoffs barely, but had absolutely no chance to actually win it. I think anybody would go back to that over what the last 9 years.
Right. Well, we've talked about it multiple times already, just like how big this would be for the city of Detroit, for the Red Wings, just to make it to the play. Even if they got swept, just making it to the playoffs, breaking that streak, building up for the next season. Again, I don't think anybody here would say that the Red Wings have any shot. Not only, I mean, maybe a couple weeks ago, we would have never said that they even have a shot of winning the Stanley Cup Finals, let alone make it to the playoffs. And now here we are, and it's looking like it's going to go on a decade now. With no
that was it's the jolt the organization needed, but what we just talked about, the players don't clearly want to be there. There's something there. It's either they're not playing for the GM, or they're just not playing for whatever reason. Right. And something's got to change with one of those two this offseason, really.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we just have a few seconds really left in today's episode. Real quick, we did want to mention that the fact that the Masters are going on this weekend. Obviously, a huge deal for all of us. We love checking it out, and it's always the best time of the year. Again, it's kind of like you go from March Madness all the way into the Masters. That stretch is just always beautiful. Real quick, though, guys, who do you have winning this year?
Gosh, I'm not going to take Rory on like a repeat or anything like that. I don't really love the way that Scotty Scheffler's playing right now. So, gosh, when it comes to a winner, I'm just going to go Bryson. I think he's been playing a lot better lately, and I think he's going to get it done. But again, we've talked about this before. So hard to pick who's going to win in golf.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Scheffler.
Okay. Yeah. I'm rocking with that too. Scotty Scheffler has won it every even year since 2022. So again, it would make sense for him to win it this year. But again, we'll see. We'll be talking about it next week. I do want to thank everybody so much though for tuning in to this latest edition of the Sports Frenzy podcast.